Me know. Okay, we're live.
Okay, good morning. At the top of the page there on the bulletin, there's an affirmation. We're gonna do that together. So, together, in one spirit, we see God everywhere.
In everyone and in everything.
Sounded like a commitment to me.
This is our first time doing YouTube live,
Okay.
so this should be fun.
It's gonna be all right.
No, it looks good.
What's the good news? You got any good news?
I do. I started volunteering at North
Yes.
this past week, and I love it. I'm blessed. I
Great.
love all of the teachers, and
Well, and it's probably way
it's so
easier
much.
than
My heart, it's so much enjoyment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Enjoyment out of it. So it's definitely a blessing. That's why it's not bad.
Yes, good. Birthdays, anniversaries, hirings, I said hirings, firings.
Glenn got a new house.
Could be very good news. What?
Glenn got a new house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I know.
They accepted me in the show.
Oh, good for you, Amanda.
Yes, good.
That's fabulous.
So if Fees has a word to say about it, about the situation, it may seem obscure, but after a little while it'll sink in. The name of this little poem is called Mismatched Newlyweds. Okay? Like a pair of mismatched newlyweds, one of whom still feels very insecure. I keep turning to God, saying, kiss me. Anybody need to be added to the prayer list?
TJ?
All right, they took my pen again. It's always they, it's a very nebulous
There's
term.
actually two right there, Greg. I put two pins there.
Okay, what did we say?
TJ?
Mika?
Adrian.
Tabby Madison. And James Burley.
The Dial family.
Crystal Scheller.
All right, we're gonna get quiet and do this meditation. So just relax right where you're at. Relax, release, and let go. Focusing on the breath. Not trying to change it in any way. Just noticing. Just noticing how it works. And as you breathe in, you are filled. And as you breathe out, you just naturally Say to yourself, I am expressing God. God is expressing me. God is expressing me. God is loving and living through us. Just relax into that idea. God is living and loving through us. If there are any distractions that occur, don't worry about it. It's nothing. Don't fight them. Just relax back into your breath. And this wonderful idea that God is living and loving through us. God is the ground of all being. All things are out of that ground. Not a being, but being. Touch reality. We must learn to love in all circumstances. And this is how God expresses through us. No other way but love. Jesus made this clear. And he said, you have heard it said, love your family and hate your enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemy and do good to those who persecute you. We feel it. We know that this is the path to peace. Our expression of God is just about as good as our ability to forgive. There is someone in your life right now that will activate this expression of God. And it's not someone who you feel close to. It is someone who you feel alienated from. Even now. You already thought of them. They will do. Consider that they are asking for your love, for your forgiveness, and that they are extending their own love and forgiveness to you simultaneously. This is our shared salvation. Our safety is the only one that is real. In this safe place, God loves and lives through us. Amen and amen. Buttering the sky, slipping on my shoes, boiling water, toasting bread. Buttering the sky, should be enough contact with God in one day to make anyone happy. Normal day. It's a normal day. We have a story to tell. On the sign outside. What'd you put up there, Priscilla?
Tell your story.
Said what?
Tell your story.
Tell your story. Or is it, which side says what?
Your story, tell.
Ah, yes, Yoda. Got a story to tell. So, we lived in California for some time, and I used to split my time, come back here, and then I'd go back, but I try to be here on Sundays. And in California, everybody's in therapy. I had a guy that I used to have coffee with, and he told me that whenever we went to see his therapist, the first thing the guy said to him was, "Okay, what's your story?" And we've got one. We've got a story to tell every day. I've just been noticing, I was just in LA last week, Santa Monica, and I went to an NA meeting while I was there, and someone had robbed the meeting. Yeah, now think about this for a minute. Someone had gone into the room and stole all the literature. Now first of all, I'm thinking, what are you gonna do with it, right? And so I thought, well, if they read it, they'll probably bring it back. I don't know that the pawn shops are taking it. I know there used to be a bar here that would take recovery literature, where you'd go in there and give it to them, they give you one free drink to start you off again. But I don't think there was anything, it was just strange, right? It was just strange that someone come and steal all the literature. But what was more remarkable to me was how upset everybody was. Holy moly, and when we observe these things, we just sit back for a moment. Now, yes, okay, listen, I remember having this happen years ago. Somebody actually took the money from the meeting, then everybody's all upset, and it's so easy to get on the bandwagon. To get on this bandwagon with this, let's get some drama going. And I watched as people were standing at the front door of the meeting, greeting everyone who came in with the story, "We got robbed." But this is like this human nature, right? We want to tell this, and the more drama that we can get into it, the better we like it, I think. So, but I was just thinking about it. You can get this choice. We get on that bandwagon, or we could just kind of just stop for a second, right? Just stop and consider. And I thought, well, really isn't that big of a deal. It really isn't anything. Now here's the deal, here's the thing that's important about this though. I didn't want to tell anybody in the meeting who was all worked up and all dramatic, what's the matter with you? Why are you getting all worked up over this? It really isn't a big deal. This is what the Course in Miracles is like clear about this, that all these things that we get upset about and all the things we get mad over and all the things that we seem to not be able to forgive, that they're not even real at all. And I remember someone telling me many years ago, but that doesn't mean that you go to a funeral and tell the people there who are grieving, don't worry about it, death isn't real. Now you may want to tell them that in a kind of a softer, easier way, but it's not compassionate. It's not. So we're going through an experience. This is what's happening. This is our story. Our story is that we are having experiences. We are having experiences based on our perception, based on what happened in the past that we're holding on to, based on what we fear concerning the future. We are having these experiences, and to us, they are real. They are real. They are our real story. What's interesting though is when we look closer, like we were talking about last week, if we're journaling, we are writing about what's going on in our life. It is just amazing that when we write something down that was just in our head, and then we read it, and it's different. It looks different on the paper. And then today what I want to suggest is you take whatever it is that you wrote down on that paper and you tell it to somebody else. Not just anybody. Remember, what did Jesus say? He said, don't cast your pearls before swine. Right? He wasn't insulting people or swine, I don't think. I think what he was saying was that the swine don't know the difference between a pearl and anything else, and they just walk all over it, right? So, in any event, we decide who this is gonna be. Who is this? Who are we gonna trust? We call them a confidant. Some people in recovery, they call them a sponsor. But someone who we can trust, and some of us have multiple confidants. Some of us make alliances with different confidants against the other confidants. It happens all the time. Go home and get in an argument with our spouse or our lover, and then we go to our friend and say, oh, every night it's the same freaking thing. I gotta go through, right? And then, but next week then, our friend says something, just an offhanded remark of some kind or other. We take offense and we go home and we tell our spouse or our lover, in this such and such, do you not believe what he said to me today? I should have. Well, listen, this is our story, this is our experience. Am I okay? Can you see, am I okay, or did I get out of the frame? I don't care.
You're out of the frame now.
Got my head cut off. I gotta move around a little bit. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
I am a handful. So,
You said it.
what I wanna suggest this morning is that these stories that seem so real to us, they're really just our perception. They're just the way that we're taking it. It's the way we decided to take it and then react or interact. And it's not real. It's not real. But that doesn't mean that we don't work with it, because it's our experience. So we're having this experience. So here today, we've got a few people in a room, in the same room, experiencing whatever this is that we're doing right now. And you would think that our experiences would be the same, but they're not. Every single person is experiencing it differently. And so then, later, there could be an argument. Well, you know, when he said this, that really that kind of made me mad when he said this thing here. And another person that you're talking to will say, you didn't even say that. You go, what? Yes, you remember. No, I didn't hear that. I don't know how many times I've had people come up to me after I give a talk or share in a meeting, and they'll say, you know, you helped me so much when you said this thing here. And I go, I don't even remember saying it. When did I say that? So it's very interesting, right? So we think that we are separate bodies in a room, inside a building, on a street, in a city, part of a state, in a country, on a planet, moving through space, in a solar system, part of a galaxy that is part of a universe. And we just have it backwards. What we really are, we are mind. We are pure consciousness. We are mind. And what's going on is, every one of those things, the universe, the galaxies, the solar system, the planets, the countries, the states, the towns, the streets, the buildings, the rooms, they're all in us. It's really good. So, our lives, we're responsible for our lives because we're making our lives. We are making our stories. Moment by moment, decision by decision, we are making our experience. Now, this is not to say that things don't happen. Random things happen. We cannot control certain circumstances and events. Sometimes people do things to us, seemingly, that are unfortunate. That is not to say that those things are our fault, although sometimes we probably have contributed. But, in this present moment right now, we decide what our experience is going to be. How are we going to take it? We decide what our story is going to be. And many times, I get confused about what my story is. I think you did something to me. I think you insulted me. Most of the time, actually, people really aren't paying that much attention to you. They're not paying that much attention to me. I'm taking offense over something that never happened. In any event, I need help, so sometimes I write it down. I need help deciding when I've done something that seems to have caused harm. When I have done something that seems to have caused harm, I need some help in resolving it. So I need to take responsibility for the thing that I've done. I need to share with someone else who I trust their perspective so that I can see the whole picture. And then I can move into some kind of healing with the situation. So the important thing that I want to say this morning are that these stories are stories that we are spinning. We are spinning our own stories. And this gives us a tremendous amount of freedom. We can decide. We can actually decide what our lives are going to be like. Yes, we can't decide on these little minute details. We cannot decide. Of course, when there are things that are happening in the material world that are not just under our personal control. But everything that we do afterwards is under our control. And so what ends up happening when we pay attention in the present and decide what we want in life, what ends up happening is we are able to, many times, heal the past and generate a bright and shining future just by staying in the moment, staying present, and making these decisions. But again, this thing that is in us that tells us that we are separate. This is, by the way, it's the remnants of the fruit that we ate, the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The remnants of that fruit stays with us. The remnants of that idea of duality, that there is us and that there is them. And we see it being manipulated every day. This remnant of this nightmare of self-centeredness that says that we are alone in a dangerous world. That we are at risk and can't trust. The fact of the matter is we've never been separate. We're always together. And even if we look at even the world that we are spinning, this movie that we are making, this story that we are writing, even in the story, even though we're writing in our own story, I am apart from, I feel I am lonely, I am unique, I am misunderstood. All of those things that we are writing, if we look deeply into the story that we are writing, everything is still connected. Everything is still connected. Even in the symbols, even in the shadow that we have ourselves made of this divinity that actually is within us. So this is what we discover as we really look deeply into this story and don't just take it at face value, is that we've been telling ourselves a bunch of lies. We've been telling ourselves that pretty much everybody is against us, right? And the issue is like really simple. We think we've got to defend our ground. We think we have to defend our position because if we don't, somebody's going to, take advantage of us. And this defense becomes offense. It's offensive. Wait a minute, I'm just minding my own business. I'm just taking care of myself here. We come to this understanding that God's will is for good. And God's will is for good. God's will is for the best. The best for us and the best for everyone else. It's called the common welfare. And the common welfare is what's the best for everyone involved. So a lot of times though, I think that the common welfare means I've gotta sacrifice what I want. In order to be for the, I have to make a sacrifice, yes, I'm gonna make a sacrifice for the common good, and this isn't really not the case. This is, like hive mind, where, what I'm saying here is no one has to be sacrificed. Because by definition, what's best for everyone involved has to be what's best for me, because I'm part of everyone involved. Now, there may be many solutions that people come up with that they say are for the common good, but they're actually not. Because if any one of those plans, if any one of those schemes ends up having to sacrifice somebody, it cannot, by definition, be what's best for everyone involved. But people try to sell it. And the way they try to sell this idea of the common good is we sacrifice these 150 people for this 1,000 people. And that just, that makes sense, right? Yes, we're gonna lose 150, we're gonna save 1,000. We're gonna lose, oh, wait, make the numbers even bigger, and it's easier to convince you. When you sacrifice one person, and save them. I am saying, you don't have to agree, it's okay. You don't have to agree. I'm saying it's erroneous on its face. I'm saying that really, if you get quiet and really look at our story, and we are open and receptive, we can be guided in a way. Well, what's the story? What's the story that, it's a story in ethics, in ethics class, where they say, okay, there's a train running away down a hill, and it's going straight at a town. And you can throw the switch, but if you throw the switch, it's gonna run over one person, but it's gonna save the town. What are you gonna do? Generally speaking, we don't get to make these kind of decisions. So that's the first response to that question should be, I'm not gonna be in that kind of a situation. That kind of a situation, that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy situation, right? But this is how it's sold to us, right? The whole idea is, this is the whole idea of war, of armies, of everything. The whole idea is we're gonna sacrifice a few to save the many. Now, personally, I don't know what the answer is. I do not know what the answer is to solve all of this disharmony. I just know that I heard a song 35 years ago, was let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. So I know for me that the answer is come to peace. Stop fighting with people. And so when I tell my story, what I want to tell is, why do I want to fight? What are the things in me, what are the stories that I've been telling myself that make me feel like I'm at odds with the world? What are the stories that I've been telling myself that make me feel like I have been a victim of the world? I need to see them clearly and to realize that I am complicit in all of this. And you think, I don't know what your political beliefs are, but you look around and I'm sure that you can find somebody that you disagree with out there and say, well, I'm not in any position to do anything about what's going on. Well, the really simple thing is we vote, and this is, some people voted last week, some things happen. But more than that, to realize that we are complicit because we take benefit. We extract benefits that we actually enjoy from the bad behavior of our elected officials. We take the benefit and then complain that they're doing what they're doing. I'm just saying we need to be aware of that. We need to be aware that we're complicit. And our part then becomes, tell it. We need to open our mouths and say, this is not okay. This is not okay. Let's do something different. Let's change our behavior. We can restructure our educational system. We can just, how can it be that still, now, people are starving in America? How is this possible? It's possible because we are complicit. we're going along with it. Say no more, stop it. Let's recognize what's really going on here. No more, there's no reason. This is not, I'm not talking about I'm not even talking about going out into the street and marching, although sometimes we may be guided to do that. I'm just saying to start speaking up. When you're in a conversation with somebody, I know it's so easy to want to go along to get along. But when somebody starts talking about how something where people are being harmed is okay for one reason or another, say no. That is never, say, wait a minute. What you just said right there, that doesn't match your spirit. So without insulting them, say the goodness in you cannot support that point of view. It is the fear in you that is supporting it. To say no to prejudice, to say no to misogyny, say no, settle down right now. So, it's not gonna help though, to get in an argument. And I know because I've been in plenty of arguments. But just don't go along with it. I don't care if it's your boss. I almost swore in church. Holy cow. It was like right there, I was like right on the verge of it right there. No. Don't go along with it. We don't need to be complicit. We can say no. And you know what? This is the thing about speaking up. When we think something is wrong, is that we have to be willing to take the chance that we are wrong ourselves. We have to be willing to take the chance that we are in error, and then willing to hear the other person's position. So I'm going to tell my story, but most of all, I want to hear your story. And so if you say something to me that I don't agree with, here's a hint. You'll now see. Now you're going to know. You're going to be hip to my game now. If you say something to me that I don't agree with, I'm going to try to say, oh, wait a minute, you may be right. Tell me more. Tell me more. And then you're going to tell me more and more and more about this. Oh, wait, tell me, go on, tell me some more. And I want to hear your whole freaking argument about this thing. And when you finally exhausted yourself, then I'm going to say, yeah, I never thought about it that way before. You could be right. But let me just ask, have you ever thought about it like this? And see, once your defenses are down, then I'm going to present something, and I'm going to hope that my story that I'm going to present to you is going to be a story of love. Is going to be a story of forgiveness. Is going to be a story of healing, of harmony, of coming together, of building up and binding together, of restoration to sanity. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's it.
So it is.